10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio, terrestrial radio. We're also streaming live at cklu.ca. That's on the internet. So it's you can listen to us on the internet. You can listen to us on terrestrial radio. You can do that by clicking on the Radio Player Canada app to stream us, downloading it to take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. The show will be found immediately following the live on those two platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.news, which is our news aggregator, aggregating all the local news into one convenient location. So that way you can find all the local news easily in answer to the federal government's policies that don't allow, we have policies that don't allow news to be shared on the world's largest social media platform. And it's pretty annoying for a lot of people, but the government tells us is because journalists weren't making enough money. But they're still making the same amount of money now, and they can't share their news. So I just don't realize what the purpose of that was, really. Only country in the world that has that particular policy where we allow Facebook. So we're not so communist that we outlaw Facebook altogether. We just take the news off of it. We outlaw news. We're the only country in the world and that does that. So that's pretty interesting stuff. So take that for what it is. And I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. It's not the easiest in the world into 3 paragraphs. So I'm getting today's story kind of put into 3 paragraphs through ChatGPT. So that way we can actually get through the whole story and all of the main points of it. Because it's something that I think a lot of us will be interested in. Sudbury.com published an article yesterday talking about the issue, I guess if there was an issue, of people, everyday citizens going downtown and interviewing the homeless and interviewing them on camera, on their phones. And apparently that's not a good idea. So we're gonna get the two sides and everything in between. So the one, is it totally a wrong thing to video people who are experiencing homelessness on our streets in downtown? And if you ask them ahead of time, okay, my name's AJ Walsh. I do this volunteer radio show on the community radio station, and I talk about social issues and try to make people aware or try to shine a light on things that are going on. And so I would love to interview you if you'd be open to that. I also have a live stream. So would you mind being on camera and discussing these things with me? Because the community is going to see it. And the person would go, No, I'm not comfortable with that. Or, yeah, no problem. I don't mind that. So if it was me, and I already know this, unless I had some organization or a group of people that were after me and I was worried about my safety and them knowing where I was, by being on camera, I'd say, that's the only time I'd say no. Other than that, I'd say, sure. I'd love to talk about my situation, what I'm in. And maybe that will help. And I found a lot of the people that I've spoken to or know that have experienced homelessness or still are some of the greatest people. Salt of the earth people. They just had extreme hard times fall upon them. Something that you should pray every day doesn't fall upon you or I. And they're your friends, they're your brothers, your sisters, your sons, your daughters, your moms, your dads, your cousins, your coworkers. They're anybody you could know that's experiencing this. But just salt of the earth. I found people that I know in that unfortunate circumstance to be very caring and giving. Although, if in addiction, some of the actions that they do or some of the decisions they make are not the greatest due to the addiction. But if you take away the addiction and the person underneath there is a beautiful person, right? And should be able to speak for themselves, right? If they can actually survive in a tent in the downtown of a city in northern Ontario in the winter, should they not be able to speak for themselves if given the opportunity? Right? Like, who are you or I to say that they shouldn't be allowed to, or someone shouldn't give them that opportunity, right? So this is already a rant before we even get into discussing I maybe should have saved my remarks until the end, right? That's just me after already reading some of the back and forth here. So I apologize for that. I took some liberties and I do apologize for that. Because the last thing I'd want to do is skew somebody's opinion of something just because I believe something. And I think that's what the media is guilty of these days. And so I, unfortunately, just fell into that very thing myself, right? But I'm also trying to type and talk to not waste your and my time. Well, into 3 paragraphs. Okay. There we go. So that should be that. Please condense the following to 3 paragraphs. So I've taken like a 20 paragraph story and I asked ChatGPT if it could take that particular story about photographing or videoing our people experiencing homelessness, which was a very long, like I said, article, into 3 paragraphs. So we're going to get the condensed version of that. Then we're going to look at the comments of a local business person, Connor LaRock, who owns Rise. It's a social media company, media company, I guess you can say. And he's putting on an event, I believe it's this weekend even, to raise money for the organizations that aren't getting funding. Because there are organizations that are getting funding to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars to deal with this problem that we have in our downtown. But it seems like the more millions you throw at it, the millions don't really equate to actual help if you look at the results, right? So he's organizing a fundraiser for those that are just, everyday average citizens who want to help, who aren't the CEO or executive director or volunteer coordinator or manager of the volunteers of an organization that gets paid a salary, that gets millions of dollars from different sources, and they just want to do it themselves. And so kudos to Connor for doing this. He's not the only one. There are many people doing this, have been doing it. Some a little more vocal than others, some behind the scenes. And so for you behind the scenes, people out there, your work is not going unnoticed at all. Your work is not going unnoticed, especially by those who really need it. And if you're in the earshot of my voice, I want to thank you for all that you've done, because you're probably not going to get a lot of thanks from people other than the people you're helping. Because if you're not one of these people who are on social media, who have, that savviness, or you just don't think to pick up your phone and start talking into it at any given moment, like a lot of our people in this generation do these days, kudos to you for going out and helping people without getting the acclamation of the world, let's say, but you got acclamation from the place that really counts. That's for sure. And it's from those that you're helping. So with all that, a little bit of a rant, and then we'll get into the story. It might be the only thing that we're going to be discussing today, because it's pretty meaty, and it's a local story, and it's something that we've come back to time and time again. Just to let everyone know, we're going to have Judy Strawn on the show tomorrow. I just got in touch with her this morning to touch base about a Sudbury Christmas Carol that's going to take place this Saturday at the Sheridan Auditorium. So we'll discuss all the good, bad, and hopefully not ugly about that particular radio play that's performed live in front of a studio audience. You could be a part of that and contribute to raising money for CKLU at the same time. Tickets, I believe, are $25, but we're going to talk about all the particulars about that tomorrow on the show. She'll be on. So grateful that she's going to join me. She's been on the show, I believe, at least 3 times, at least. And we always have a good conversation. She is such a good person, first of all. She's one of these people. We talk about going around doing all kinds of good things and behind the scenes, and she's a really creative person, and she does a lot for the community. I mean, she's known from all sides. There's no people that she doesn't feel comfortable being around. I believe she'd be right in that encampment, feeling just as comfortable mingling and talking with those that we're going to be talking about today as she would at the most upper level fundraising event with all the who's in Whoville in Sudbury, kind of thing. And so salt of the earth person, looking forward to having her on the show tomorrow. Let's dive in with a little bit of weather, and we'll be back with the top news headline of the day from Sudbury.com about should we be engaging as citizens on camera with those that are most vulnerable in our community. We'll be back right after this. And Sudbury weather, as usual, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It is currently, a yellow watch snow squall. A snow squall watch from Environment Canada. It's currently minus 12 degrees. It's cloudy. Feels like minus 19. Today, mainly cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries this morning. Flurries or snow squalls beginning this morning. Local blowing snow late this morning and this afternoon. Local amount 10 to 20 centimeters. Wind becoming south. 30 kilometers per hour, gusting to 50 this morning, high of minus 5, wind chill minus 18 in the morning, minus 11 in the afternoon. Tonight, flurries or snow squalls ending early this evening with mainly cloudy, then mainly cloudy. Wind will be moderate. The wind chill overnight will be minus 15 and the regular temperature minus 10. Tomorrow, cloudy with a 60% chance of light snow. High of minus 8, wind chill near minus 18. And then overnight tomorrow, low of 13 with a 30% chance of flurries overnight. And then Thursday, you got minus 9, mix of sun and cloud. Friday, mix of sun and cloud with a chance of flurries, 40%, -8 is your high, -11 on Saturday with a 40% chance of flurries as well. Mix of sun and cloud on Sunday, high of -11, and a 60% chance of snow, excuse me, on Monday with a high of -10. We'll be back with the big news headline of the day, like we talked about. Lots of discussion around this. I don't know how we're going to get through this, but we're going to do our best right after this. And thanks for sticking around, everybody. We really appreciate all of y'all for being on. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of discussion this morning. A few morning shout outs before we head in. Good morning, Northern Hillbilly. Thanks for being on. Okay, and now my device just went all the way down to the latest. Oh, yeah, you're going to do that to me, are you? Well, I'll just do this. Okay. And we have Evelyn on as well. Good morning, everyone. You're up. That's a good sign. Canada so far back of the Americans on the information war, for sure. InfoWars will be sold more than likely to The Onion any day, and they're going to change that into a satirical website, is the word on the street. Roger, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Evelyn, people can live in tents anywhere as long as they have heat and water. I've seen it right across Canada for years and years now. And isn't that awesome that someone can actually do that in some way? And I mean awesome that they actually have the resilience and the wherewithal to be able to do that. Logic, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Northern Hillbilly says we should be free to do anything as long as you don't trespass to others or on others, sorry. And I believe that too. And good morning from Barrie. This is Marianne, liking and sharing as usual. And Larry, good morning. Fellow Canadians. Monique, good morning to you. Belinda, good morning. Some people hear words, while others hear feelings. That's the difference. Wow. You know how profound that statement you just said is? That's the reason for so much contention, not only in our households, in our communities, in our countries. It's my wife doesn't like me bringing up anything, so I won't even bring anything up. But that's our household in a nutshell. One of us is more just say it, and the other one is more I feel what you're saying, or I feel what I think you're saying, which is sometimes what causes the problem, because we don't always know exactly what the words are meaning. It's kind of like when you're trying to text something that's really a layered issue with somebody, something you should be discussing face to face, but you're texting. I think it's so poor of a way to communicate something that's sensitive, because you're like, oh, what did that emoji mean? Oh, what did they mean when they put the comma there? Does that mean this? You don't hear the inflection in someone's voice. You don't hear. It's just so hard, right? For the people that want to translate it into feelings. For someone that doesn't care and just give me the skinny on something, texting's fine. Right? Yeah, so that's a great thought of the day. Thank you very much, Belinda. Hazel, good morning to you. Vin, good morning. Andrew, good morning to you. Larry says, I sent out a video this morning, Mark Carney trying to roll out the new digital ID. Well, of course, we know that already. Do we know the kind of world that Mark Carney foresees in Canada? Did you read his book called Values, where it said that he was the Prime Minister of Canada even when he wasn't, when he wrote the book before he was Prime Minister? Interesting. So there's that, and there's all the other things he says in there. Basically, it's just his version of Marxism. That's all it is. Values comes from the Marxist ideology. To me, they're poor values, if you ask me. I'm a very value-driven person. Not in that way, not in Mark Carney's way. If you were ever wondering how people during World War II were handling censorship, now you know. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. If you get a chance to see a movie called Truth and Treason, you need to see it. It's about a young boy in Germany. He's 16 years old, and he sees through the propaganda, which 99.999% of people didn't for a long time. Similar to Canada. They don't see what's really going on. Well, he did. And so he went out and he was putting pamphlets out, kind of like the internet today, like they didn't have internet, but he made pamphlets saying, well, did you know, ... Because you got a radio at a secondhand store and you weren't allowed to listen to broadcasts, right? Censorship. It was bad to hear information. Information was dangerous in Nazi Germany. We're seeing that the same thing here in Canada. Information is hurtful and dangerous somehow. Well, he was listening to information from England and their news, and then he would listen to the German news, and he could totally see through what was going on. So he made pamphlets with his typewriter that he got. And what eventually got him found out was there was a certain letter on his typewriter that was a certain way. And they were able to trace those pamphlets back to his typewriter. And he went to trial and everything. They caught him. He stood up to the judge like you wouldn't believe. Like he totally said it like it was. Like you'd be like, yeah, that guy's the guy, man. He was 17 by this point. He had more courage in his little finger than most of us have in our whole bodies. And he was able to stand up to Adolf Hitler, a 17-year-old boy, in a courtroom full of people that were like, what are you doing? You're done with, man. You can't stand up to this guy. But he did. It's called Truth and Treason. Look for it. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. Maybe at some point I'll play a little clip of Patrick Bet-David just going off on how good of a movie this was. It was such a good movie. A true story. He was a Latter-day Saint. Some call people Latter-day Saints Mormons. That's what they were known to be. But he was 16 years old. And everyone at his church even, they were like, you better not be doing this thing, you know. You would think they'd all stand up for the right. But no, they towed the line as well. But this young man had a lot of courage. And he stood up against Adolf Hitler. What a great story. You have to watch. Anyways, Trevor saying Canada is captured territory, period. You'll own nothing and be happy, which is coming from the WEF. That's their slogan. Oh gosh, good morning. Good morning to you too. And Hazel, he can try, just don't comply. If we all don't comply, it won't fly. I'll just put that because it actually rhymes. And, oh good, my iPhone has a new memory for me to look at. Can you imagine that? It just came up. Yeah. Lots of multitasking going on here, Larry, for sure. Okay. I do have to start moving on here because time is of the essence, especially this morning. Let's get right to the local headline as I welcome on Amanda here. Good morning to you. And I'll try and get anyone who's coming on as a morning shout out, like Liette here from Collingwood, one of the most fantabulous places in Ontario, if not Canada. And get everyone's comments up on the screen for those watching. If you're listening, you're going to want to see the show on demand after the show to see some of the comments that we're putting up on the screen. because I know when you go to Facebook.com, a lot of times they edit the comments out. So that's why I try and get them all up on the screen. So that way afterwards, at least on YouTube, you can go back and see the comments. Okay, so here we go. Story of the day. And I know Trevor just chimed in on it, that I'll just get the beginning of it. I disagree with not having permitted to film these interviews. Every day I hear a boomer say, plow them all over, get rid of them. Good riddance. Okay, that's interesting. And your comments go on. I encourage people to go on and read. And good morning, Sudbury Steffi. Thanks for being on. Big night tonight, Sudbury Steelworkers Hall, 6 to 9. It's tonight. I thought it was this weekend. Thanks for the clarification. 6 to 9, Connor LaRock is hosting an event. Hope to see you all there. So it's tonight from 6 to 9 where he's doing the fundraising. We'll have his comments here. And Grand Rising Monique, thanks for being on. Thanks. And thanks, Sudbury Steffi. I'm battling a cold here, guys, so bear with me. Wasn't on the show yesterday. Barely got any sleep. Coughing all night. Blah, blah, blah. It's not because of stuff that's being sprayed in our skies, I guarantee you. Whatever. Okay, so what's the headline here from Sudbury.com from yesterday? Let's get it, and then we'll get into the ChatGPT concise whatever. Please, okay. Putting the homeless on camera for social media. Clout concerns local outreach workers. Sudbury influencers are heading downtown and sticking cameras in the faces of people who are homeless and believing they are helping by shining a light on the situation. But trained outreach workers say this kind of performative activism doesn't help anybody and actually causes harm. Now activism is bad for some reason. All the activists out there, activists for everything. It's always the thing, but then you try to do activism, real down to earth activism, and now it's bad. You're doing harm according to the outreach workers. Trained. And when you're sticking cameras in people's faces, that's very, very rude when you stick a camera in someone's face. So I'm just pointing out that spin in news, right? If they say they put them on camera, it's different from saying you're sticking something in someone's face. Wording is everything in the media, and I usually like Jenny Lamoth's reporting, and I've given her all kinds of acclamation on the show before, but just got to out you on that one, Jenny, unless that's a direct quote from some of the outreach workers of sticking cameras in people's faces rudely. The only time I've ever seen anybody do something similar to that, which had resembled nothing like sticking a camera in someone's face. Pat, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. And Jerome. So the only time I see anybody, they are very respectful. If anything, they go out of their way to be respectful and ask the people, do you mind if I record this conversation? This is where it's going to be. I'm trying to do this. And it's either yes or no. I've seen people say, no, I really don't want to be on camera. Do you mind if I record your voice then? They say, yeah, no, my voice is fine. I just don't want to be on camera. Okay, no problem. Or I don't want to be on camera and I don't want to be on video. And I've never seen somebody just do it anyways. I've never seen that. Now, if it's happened where I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty on the ball on this, and I've seen all kinds of things to do with this. Okay, so story. Courtesy ChatGPT, just giving us the skinny, okay? Local outreach organizations in Sudbury are raising concerns about social media influencers filming people living in the Energy Court encampment, saying the trend amounts to the performance activism that can harm rather than help. Workers stress that filming vulnerable individuals without proper training, trauma-informed practices, or understanding of consent. So here we go. So maybe they got something here, right? Maybe these people who are just asking the people for their consent and they say yes is not legal. Maybe there's something I don't know here when I've gone through 3 years of public relations and a degree in communications and a master's in business that I could have overlooked, which is possible. And I'm saying that truthfully. Even I could overlook that. So what do they got to say? While content creators may believe they're raising awareness, trained outreach workers stress that filming vulnerable individuals without proper training, trauma-informed practices, or understanding of consent can put people at serious risk. I want to hear what the serious risks are going to be. Now you got my attention. So I hope they tell me what these serious risks are going to be, right? From re-traumatization, being located by abusers, or losing access to crucial services. So I did say that. I said, if I thought someone would then know where I was and I was asked to be on camera or not, I'd say no. If I was worried about my personal safety, that'd be a reason why I would say no. And that's good that the workers are pointing that out. 100%. But I think the person would probably know if they have an abuser. I would hope they'd be on camera. Now, if they're on something at the time, sure, maybe they got a point. Maybe they're not in their right mind to give consent at the time. That's why we're discussing this. The city's encampment response guide. We have an encampment response guide. Did you know that? And you could find it by going to the Sudbury.com story and clicking on it. And you can own for yourself the city's encampment response guide. So it emphasizes in that response guide that homeless intervention is a professional practice requiring skill, ethics, and boundaries, not something anyone can step into with a camera. Good morning, Diane. Excuse me. And Shirley, good morning to you as well. And Renald, good morning. So many people on this morning. Sheila. And so frontline workers and advocates, including former outreach worker Buzwa, and Angels of Hope director Christine Scarpellini. Sorry, that's how I originally found this story, was from her Facebook. She was sharing it. She was saying, good, Jenny. It's good that you're sharing this with people. Everyone's got to see this, right? She's Angels of Hope director, and I've spoken to her on the phone. Think she's a great person. She's advocating for those mainly women that are involved in human trafficking and other unfortunate things that happen. So warn that capturing images or stories of people in crisis often exploits their trauma for online content. So, Judy, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Are these social media influencers doing this just to promote themselves? Right? Is this just a sick way of getting views and clicks? Is that why someone's going down to Energy Court? Because they know they're going to get a viral video out of it? Possible. I'm just putting that out there, right? Is that the intention? Claude, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Okay. Many individuals living outdoors are dealing with addiction, mental health challenges, or fleeing unsafe situations, making true informed consent impossible in many cases. There you go, right? So here you go. Maybe not asking somebody if it's okay. Maybe we what else can be done? According to the workers downtown, leave it to them. You stay out of this, right? That's the solution so far I'm seeing. All right. Outreach workers describe situations where people unintentionally exposed by influencers may face danger, humiliation, or further instability. I'd like to hear one of the situations, so that way it kind of brings me closer. And good morning, Bob. Thanks for being on. I want to hear one of the situations where one of the influencers got someone on camera and they were put in a dangerous situation. So I'm going to look forward to that in the story as well. They stress that what vulnerable people need is not visibility through social media, but properly funded services. More money. They need more money. That's what's going to help. So if we add up all the money that's already there, excess of $5 million per year, we need more money. I wonder how many of those millions of dollars that are given already are getting to the actual people. They're getting to the organizations that have put out this article, or at least blew the whistle and said that this is an issue, which I say it could be an issue. I'm seeing some things in here that need discussion, for sure. It needs to be discussed a little bit more, 100%. But more money is the solution? Bob Johnson shared a article from, or whatever, some statistics from Canada on the Give Go project, on how much money they're given and how much money is actually left at the end of the day to do something after all the payroll and all their expenditures and things like that. Very little money is left. It all goes to the people in the organization. And they might do good work, and I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying, and then maybe on on Thursday, Bob, just to let you know, and Tom, you guys are welcome to come on, because we have Judy on tomorrow. So Thursday we'll have Bob and Tom on, and we'll actually break down the numbers of the money that these organizations are getting. And in fact, could we foresee, if we just got more money, would it help the situation, or does it need strategy? Strategy over money. What do you think? So Miles says, listening on the radio as Facebook is buffering too much. Yeah, because we're talking about the city again. They kind of know what they're doing. Okay, so the people are talking to the outreach workers, saying they're experiencing, by being exposed by these influencers, they face danger, humiliation, and further instability, and stress that the vulnerable people, they don't need visibility, they need money. Well, the people that are working with them need money. They need funded services, trained staff, harm reduction, so they need drugs, free drugs paid for by your tax money, and stable housing. Well, I'd say I agree with a lot of that, not all of it. Organizations such as the Give Go Project, like we just talked about, add that filming within encampments can blur boundaries, distort people's stories, and interfere with professional outreach efforts. Even well-intentioned content creators may underestimate how widely shared their video will become, or how misrepresentation online can shape public opinion and policy. Advocates argue that ethical storytelling requires transparency, consent, and protection of the individuals involved. Principles often absent in influencer-driven content. And I would, you know what? There could be an issue there. Got to give you that. There could be an issue there. And I think instead of saying nobody should be coming in here and filming, good morning, Wade from Pass It On Undercoating. Thanks for being on. I think we need to find a middle ground here. I think getting the word out, wouldn't you think would help your cause in some way? Would help you get more funding by me being more aware in the community that what's going on, right? Or no? I would think the exposure would possibly get more funding. However, but if you're getting exposure and it's starting to give transparency where you're not comfortable in your organization talking about transparency, then maybe could be an issue too, right? Principles are often absent. Okay. Without these safeguards, they say, raising awareness can quickly turn into exploitation that deepens the harm faced by people already experiencing homelessness. All right. So that's the story from Sudbury.com, Jenny Lamoth. Big fan of her work. Not so much of that story per se, but great for conversation nonetheless. And we do need to be discussing this. Connor LaRock saying here on Facebook, Sudbury.com published an article today accusing people of seeking clout for documenting the reality of homelessness. The irony is impossible to ignore. Their entire business model relies on turning crisis into content. They profit from clicks, impressions, and ad revenue generated by the very images and narratives they claim to find unethical when anyone outside their newsroom shows them. If showing the truth is performative, then why does Sudbury.com continually publish photos of tents, encampments, overdoses, police scenes, and human suffering? Why is it considered responsible journalism when they do it, but clout chasing when community members highlight the same reality in an effort to mobilize support, raise funds, and push for solutions? You cannot condemn others for exposing what you turn into headlines every week. That contradiction speaks for itself. Sudbury is a humanitarian emergency. People are freezing in tents. Encampments are expanding. Violence and overdoses are increasing. Story in Sudbury Star this morning said a mentally ill man just knocked on the door of a 90-year-old senior and beat him to a pulp. So that's the headline from Sudbury Star this morning that we didn't get a chance to talk about. But that's like an example of what Connor's talking about. Something that wasn't included in the Sudbury.com article of these organizations weren't giving examples. They were saying it's dangerous, but they didn't say it's dangerous because, look, in this situation, this happened, that happened, this happened. So they're not giving examples. Okay. None of the speculation. It is visible to anyone walking through our city. For years, the loudest voices insisted on silence. They insisted the public should not see this. They insisted that confronting the crisis was somehow harmful. That's how things have become normalized. In our case, we filmed with consent. We treated every person with dignity. We allowed individuals to speak for themselves in their own words. That is not exploitation, that is empowerment. This is exactly where professionalism becomes dangerous. No, paternalism. Paternalism becomes dangerous. Paternalism assumes that people living in tents cannot decide for themselves whether they want to share their story. Paternalism insists their voices should be filtered, hidden, or approved by institutions before the public hears them. Paternalism strips adults of their agency and voice. That mindset is not trauma-informed, it is condescending. It is dehumanizing. And it is a major reason why the crisis continues unchecked. There is nothing performative about what we are doing. There is nothing performative about raising money for boots-on-the-ground charities, coordinating volunteers, supporting outreach, cleaning our city, or building a structured pathway from the street to detox for stabilization to housing and that's something these organizations did not talk about. The organizations talked about harm reduction, talked about, it's two totally different ideologies. And here Connor's talking about detox and getting people free of drugs, not giving them drugs, right? There's two different ways of looking at this, which my own opinion, I'm on the side of getting people off drugs and giving them back their dignity. That is the difference between commentary and leadership. If Sudbury.com or anyone else believes that this work is harmful, then present a real solution, not a headline, not outreach for clicks A credible, coordinated, evidence-based plan that reduce suffering, increase safety, and get people into care. That is what we're building openly and transparently with overwhelmingly community support. Overwhelming community support. Sudbury deserves better than selective outrage and manufactured controversy. The people living in these tents deserve better. Than to be hidden, spoken for, and used selectively when it benefits a media narrative. The era of silence and optics-driven decision-making is over. To anyone who truly wants better for this city, everyone is welcome to our event tonight. Come hear the stories, meet the charities, see the reality for yourself. Be a part of the community movement, rooted in truth, courage, and action. Every voice matters. We are moving forward, and no headline will stop that. Okay, that's tonight. Steelworkers Hall, 6 to 9. Just look it up. Look up Connor LaRock fundraising event. I know Bob Johnson will be one of the speakers there. A few of my friends also will be speaking there. That's where you have just citizens, everyday average citizens, doing something for the community. Get involved. It's all the time we got for the show today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. We'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms, God willing, tomorrow with Judy Strawn talking about A Sudbury Christmas Carol. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great conversation as usual. And remember to stay aware, like, share, take care, and stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao for now.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.